Hello, my name is Margaret Taylor. My topic is an education deprived while growing up in the cotton fields of Mississippi. Because the past is what creates the present, it is important to understand the historical in order to understand the present. As stated by Libera, the use of history helps to explain the origins and development of specific social phenomena. During the slave trade era, plantation owners used slaves for picking cotton. After slavery was abolished, there was still a need for people to work in the cotton fields. Although black and white people both worked in the cotton fields, the labor was mainly conducted by black people during the years of the slave trade and the years following the abolishment of slavery. As stated by the author Logan, the cotton agriculture intertwines with racial relations, poverty, segregation, the Jim Crow South, and racial identity. Cotton picking remains symbolic of the oppressed social environment for blacks who were forced to work in the cotton fields during the slave trade and had to work in the cotton fields for low pay after the abolishment of slavery. Children were working in the fields and not attending school because they were helping their family to survive. It seems that parents had to choose between the survival of the family or the education of the child. This is the life history of Clara Anderson, born in 1950 on a plantation in Mississippi. Miss Anderson is the oldest child of five. Her childhood was during a time in which segregation between blacks and whites were enforced by Jim Crow laws. This is her story. So if you could just introduce yourself with your name, the year you were born, where you were born, and a little bit about your family growing up.
Yes, my name is Clara Anderson. My maiden name is Clara Phillips. I was born in 1950. My mother Annie, my father James. I was born on a plantation, and most people might not know what a plantation is. A plantation is like a farm, raised on a farm, which they call like a crop, which they raise tobaccos and rice and sugar. But the plantation, the farm that I lived on, it was more raised. We had cotton, so and we would like this call it like the cotton field. And my mom and my dad, they worked this farm, which was a crop. And at the time, I was small, but I was the oldest child, was the oldest child of five. So that means a lot of times I didn't get a chance to go to school. I had to stay at home to take care of my youngest sisters and brother while my mom and my dad worked the field. So when I got older, I I was able. I worked the field too. I still wasn't able to go to school like I should have. So I missed a lot of days in school. I got behind in school because I had to help out in the field. So I went out in the field. We worked in the fields from sun up to sundown, 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes when we had dinner, we might come home between dinner like maybe 12 o'clock and go back out at 1 o'clock, like an hour for dinner. Go back out in the field and work until 6. And different season of the year is when the cotton we did the farm that my mom and my dad worked on. It was a cotton field. It was a farm of cotton, and in certain season it was different. In a certain season, it was like comes up like a plant, and you have to go out in the field and you have to keep it clean. You have to, keep grass, chop it with a hoe, what they call a hoe, and we just chop it and keep it clean. And then there's another certain season, and then it become bloom with the kiting on there. And that particular time of the year, we have to pick the kite off of that and what you call little sacks. You put it on your back, you drag it, you put your kite in, and you take it to the place and you weigh it and see how much you have in there. And at that time, we wasn't getting that much money. I think we was getting like maybe $15 a week, which was like 5 days. You get $15 for 5 days for working in the field from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. And then a lot of times when you get wet, start raining, we have our raining season. We couldn't work in the field at that time. That was the time I could go to school. And when I, went to school, we usually have a bus to come pick us up. Me and my sisters and brothers, the bus would come pick us up. And then if we missed the bus, we would have to walk to school. And then the walking to school was about 6 to 7 miles.
Okay. And what age were you when you first started working in the cotton field?
When I first started working in the couch field, I guess I was about, I don't know, about 7 years old. I could work in the cotton field, and we didn't only do that. We had what you call a garden. We raised at that time. We raised most of our vegetables, and my mom, dad had a garden. So after working so many hours in the white man field, we had to still go to the garden and take care of the garden so stuff could grow. So we would be able to eat during the winter time.
So you mentioned that because you were working in the cotton field that you had to miss a lot of days from school. Was it your choice or was it that your parents told you you had to work in the cotton field? Was there a need for the family to have more money? What was the reason for the cotton field over school?
Well, it wasn't my choice. If it was my choice, I've been going to school every day. It was a choice of my parents needing me to be at home with them babies so they can go out there and make that 50 cents or whatever, $15 a week so they could survive. That was the purpose for that. Other than that, I'm quite sure my parents uh, prefer me to be in school too. It was just a need for me to be there.
So you worked in the cotton field until the age of 19. At that point, you were no longer school age.
Yeah, I would. Oh well, not really, because when I got married, I still went to school. But what happened was because now I was older, I was behind in school. You got to think, I didn't go to school, and they wasn't. And them years, they didn't. If you even if you knew enough to go to the next grade, you wouldn't go to the next grade because you don't have your days in there. You didn't miss too many days. You got to be um you got to be up to par with your learning ability. Plus, you got to have your days too. You can't just not miss so many days of school and go to the next grade. That wasn't gonna happen. So the reason I went to school after I got married and I was 19 years old because I had failed behind so many times. I failed because I wasn't getting to school. I didn't go to school. So I tried my best to go back, but then after I got married, then I had a child. And I even went to school after I had my child. I was trying. But then, I don't know, something in my head was like, My baby wasn't somebody they mistreat my baby. I get home, babysitter. My baby been crying all day. I'm figuring, why is she crying all day? I said, no, I am not finna let my baby be mistreated. So I stayed at home. I was a stay-at-home mom with my baby until she got old enough to go to school.
So then, growing up, you started working in the cotton field, but you mentioned that you had younger siblings since you were the oldest. Was there any point when they were working in the cotton field as well?
I don't remember them working in the cotton field. I don't remember that. I by me being the oldest, and I worked in the cotton field, but I think mostly when they started school, they went to school most of the time. At that point, I guess I don't know, by me being the oldest and they being babies, and after they got a certain age, they was able. I guess time was changing at that time, that was I was born 1950. They were born 1958, 59. So time was changing. It was a little bit different. I think my mom even had gotten out of the field by the time she had them last my sister. She was working. She had started working in the house, in the white people's house. At that time, she wasn't longer working in the fields. So she started working in the white folks' houses, and that and the time was just changing. It was a little bit better, and I think they was making them maybe a little bit another quarter more than what they was making, and so it was just coming by a change. So my sisters and brothers was able to go to school more than I did. Mhm.
And when you were working in the field as a child, do you recall seeing any other children in the field, like any classmates or children that went to your school?
Yes, it was. Even babies, even some people's had their babies in the field. My sisters and brothers, they was babies at the time. They didn't work in the field, but they was like babies, and they will be in the field. You might have them on your sack, and they might be riding while you picking the cotton and putting it in your sack. It's a sack where you put cotton in. You look it up, you see it, and the babies and stuff be actually be riding while you pulling them on in the yeah in the
Okay.
fields.
And then with the other people, like the other children your age, did you see that it was a lot of other children? They may have missed out on their education or fell behind. It was like a similar situation as yours.
Yes, it was.
Do you feel for the same reason, like for economic reasons, that the family needed money, so they needed the extra body to work in the field?
Yes, it was. That's why they need the extra body to work in the fields.
Okay.
And I think that had a lot to do with farmers, people's not getting an education because they needed the youngest, the oldest one to help out, and with the youngest ones and all of that. I really, yeah, that's the reason why a lot of people's in them days, not a lot of them, but some, a few, didn't get an education like they should because they needed to help the parents.
So when you go see your mom now, you see the tractors, but there's no people out there.
No peoples, no
Right.
peoples, no peoples doing nothing. Everybody else, people's now kids going to school, getting their education, and the older kids got them little jobs. What they doing? They teaching they basketball coaches and football coaches and teachers and lawyers and doctors, and they doing everything else, community service folks and everything. Teachers, just doing stuff. The little what they call police officers, and they doing all that now. There ain't no more people's in the field picking cotton. They got machinery to do it, and they got something to take care of the grass that what we used to chop the cotton and do. They got machinery, and they got some kind of um, stuff for killing the grass now. So it's just different. Hey, I'm a long way, boy.